Live from the 607, it is the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Why don't you join in the conversation with the hashtag ODPH? Here we go. And welcome to another edition of the ODPH. I'm your host, Ken M. Sitting across from me this week is Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
And returning to the show after a very long hibernation, it is the one, the only, Coach Duffy.
Boy, guys, it's glad to be back. I like to sleep a little bit during that, what I call my off season here of, no other sports besides baseball, but it feels good to be back. I'm fired up for football season, so let's get it going.
Absolutely. Let's get to it. Hashtag ODPH. Now, what we're going to be doing is breaking down our predictions for the NFL season coming up. It's the best time of the year, I guess, for sports.
Yeah.
Because usually when football kicks off, that's basketball is right behind it. Hockey is there too. Baseball is still going on in the playoffs.
So it's getting a little more interesting. Playoff scenarios, who's in, who's out, crunch time.
Yeah, but football is kind of what is really, dare I say, it's the national pastime.
I'll say it's the signal that fall is here. Winter is quickly approaching. Thanksgiving, all the fun stuff at the end of the year.
Absolutely, and we're going to be giving our predictions on each conference, our Super Bowl picks, our fantasy football picks for you too as well. Now, Sound Guy Galore JR could not make it in, but he did hand off his list of where he thinks each team is going to finish. So why don't you join in the conversation, hashtag ODPH, and let's waste no more time. We're going to take a look at the AFC East.
And now looking at the conference from last year, of course, record-wise, of course, New England Patriots won the division with a 13-3 record. Buffalo finished second and also made the playoffs with a 9-7 record. Miami finished in third with a 6-10 record, and the Jets rounded out the division with a 5-11 record.
Coach, what's your thoughts on the AFC East this year?
So the AFC East, I think, is going to be another year of domination from the New England Patriots, which is painful to say, but unfortunately with this division where they are right now, there's a lot of teams kind of having growing pains. Obviously Buffalo kind of made that special run last year with Tyrod, and I know you probably want to hear circle them wagons, Ken, but
absolutely,
unfortunately with the trading of Tyrod, the drafting of rookie QB here, and then Josh Allen getting injured, in the preseason game here, and we not necessarily know what it is just yet, how the severity, but that's going to be more growing pains there. And obviously the Jets are the Jets. I know they had a great run last year, but Sam Darnold probably going to be getting the starting job, you have to imagine, from this. Maybe they start Teddy Bridgewater for a couple games to start the year, but I think his early struggles are going to lead to Sam Darnold, getting time early. And then obviously, when you look at the Dolphins, Tannehill, coming off of another knee, with a new head coach, it's like that's recipe for disaster. So,
yep.
Pat, what you got?
I'm kind of in the same boat. I can see it being another year, another division title for the Patriots. The rest is where it gets kind of interesting because Buffalo, I can see them repeating success and having another, 9-7, 10-6 record, improving. But the question mark is who are they going to have at quarterback? You've got A.J. McCarron with the broken collarbone, I believe it is. And, of course, as Coach Duff mentioned, Josh Allen going down with, I believe it was speculated to be concussion protocol. Of course, like you said, we don't know the severity. So the question of who's going to be your quarterback, and if it is Josh Allen because McCarron's collarbone is broken, it's your rookie quarterback in that division and in the NFL, the proverbial deer in the headlights look. What are you going to get out of him? I can see the Jets making a jump. Darnold's look good. They're real high on him. The one that I see slipping and possibly doing worse, as Coach Duffy mentioned, is the Miami Dolphins, simply because, like you said, Tannehill, another knee injury, another, to quote DJ Khaled, another one in terms of their head coach. So it's, again, a new system he's got to learn. And to me, they really haven't done anything that flashy to improve on either side of the ball. I'm as much as it pains me to say, I don't think they're going to have a better year. I think it's going to be possibly a little worse.
I'll just read off Sound Guy Galore's JR's picks. He had the Patriots winning the East, going 13-3. The Bills 9-7, Jets 6-10, and the Dolphins 3-13. So for me, being a the Buffalo Bills fan, I have to agree. It's all going to ride on the quarterback situation. Now, this is still the Patriots division until Brady and Belichick leave.
Yep.
Albeit, though, we keep waiting to see the shoe drop and Father Time finally sack Brady, and we start seeing the diminish of skills. Now, we haven't seen it yet, but on paper, they don't look like the most dominant team, but that has never stopped them from winning before.
I don't say that's been the case in the past.
Oh, I know. I fully agree. And that's why I say, I'm not getting my hopes up too much. But I think that maybe by the end of this year, we'll kind of really see where the direction of the Patriots are going to go.
Sure.
They have had some injury issues over the season thus far for the preseason. And Edelman, I believe, is out for 4 games to start with.
Yep, out for 4 games because of the PED suspension.
Right. But I think if they can weather those storms, they're still going to win the East. I still think it's theirs to win.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills, I don't know with the quarterback situation. I know Coach McDermott is making some moves, and I don't want to say forfeiting the draft to really move up, but to trade as much as they did to get into the first round and albeit the top 10 is a lot. And for Josh Allen, he needs to produce. He has a great arm. Accuracy has always been an issue to a degree. But if they can keep him healthy and they can keep him standing to throw the ball, they should have some success. It all depends on that offensive line, more so than the quarterback. McCarron, I think he damaged his collarbone. I don't think it's broken as their initial reports came out. But I've also heard some crazy rumors that Teddy Bridgewater might be getting traded up there for draft picks.
Huh.
I know the Jets are looking to move him. So
right, which to waste your draft this year getting Josh Allen and then to waste next year's draft getting Teddy Bridgewater, what's that to say if this is true? Now, like I said, I've just read rumors, nothing concrete in stone yet. But with the Bills, it's going to ride on their quarterback play. Obviously, trading Tyrod to Cleveland was a move that the front office felt they needed to go in a different direction. I don't argue that too much.
Yeah.
But it's all going to ride on how that offensive line protects their quarterback.
Sure.
The defense is going to be stout. The defense,
yeah.
I don't really struggle with anything they've done so far. But with the offense, it's going to just ride on who's the quarterback's shoulders.
Yep.
And they're going to get as far as they do. I can see them getting a 8-8 or a 9-7, but I could also see them getting, a 6-10 too. I don't doubt it. Just depends on who's healthy and who's playing quarterback. I'd like to see Josh Allen sit on the sidelines for a little bit and just kind of get brought into the game gradually. But anytime you draft a quarterback that high, it doesn't always happen that way.
Especially when you trade what you traded for to get him.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to play him right away.
Absolutely, which I don't know if he's ready just yet. Time will tell. I just hope that when they put him in, he's the guy and he's ready to go as a Bills fan. To be determined. But I will say I think they can get the second place finish in the division. Maybe not the wild card as they did last year. They would need a little luck again. But moving forward with that, I think the Jets are going to be the Jets. They have a great defense, but Darnold as their quarterback, you got to wait and see what you get out of them.
Right.
And, I mean, they really don't have anybody on the offensive side of the ball that really scares me as an opponent.
No.
They have some good players, don't get me wrong, but if I'm looking at them on paper, I'm not really going, all right, we got to put up 38 to beat them.
No, I mean, defensively, they still are the Jets.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's going to be their strength all year. But, yeah, no, offensively, they don't have the weapons that really put, the fear of God into you.
No, they have
or not even the fear of God. They don't have the weapons that you kind of look at and go, it's not going to be awful, but he's going to be a bit of a headache.
Right, yeah.
I mean, yeah, because, Robbie Anderson, he is a good receiver for him. I think that's probably their deepest threat.
I mean, I would probably say that's when you look at their offense and you're worried about one guy, that'd probably be the guy that you would put the asterisk next to.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else on there, they're good role players, but like I said, I don't really get too much scheming on defenses to really shut them down. I think that they will have their struggles, and they're going to win some games too. They're going to scrap, and they're going to fight. And like I said, I could see them fighting with the Bills for the second-place finish. I wouldn't doubt them because their defense is that good. It just depends on how well Darnold can adapt to the NFL when they put him in, and if he is the guy. It could be Teddy Bridgewater. We don't know.
Talking about that Buffalo trade real quick, Ken, I've obviously read that the Bridgewater trade rumors are there, but that'd be such a smart trade for the Bills. Although, yeah, you did just trade up to get a quarterback in the first round. But when you think about what worked in that system last year with Tyrod, was having a quarterback who could scramble, who could get you some yards with his feet. So, putting Bridgewater back there would almost be like Tyrod back, but, maybe with a better arm.
I agree with you, but I know the offense that McDermott wants to run, and he wants more of a traditional offense.
Sure.
Because Tyrod was always a Rex Ryan guy.
Right.
And I think when he took the team over, I mean, they made it work, don't get me wrong, but I think for what he wants to do, he wants a traditional stand in the pocket, scramble for plays, after the fact, so to speak.
Yeah, but I think the problem is with that offensive line that you kind of need that back there.
I agree with that, too. I mean, like I say, there's so many different ways it could go. I wouldn't mind if they did trade for Bridgewater, but I also sit there and go, okay, we just forfeited this year's draft to go get Josh Allen.
Yeah, I mean, what do you give up? I mean, they're gonna want more than a 6th or 5th round pick. And do you really want to go 4th and 3rd round to get a guy who's only going to be there for a year?
Yeah, that's the question. And I mean, there's just so much uncertainty with that position in Buffalo that if they do make the deal with the Jets, I mean, the Jets would be going all in on Darnold, which we assume they're going to do anyway.
Sure.
But for the Bills, I don't know. I mean,
it's just, something that's so funny that I kind of just look at. I mean, obviously we're going to go over division by division, but when you sit here and you look at this division, how New England Patriot is it that this division is in such a wreck right now with 3 teams that are desperate need of finally finding a franchise quarterback, 3 teams that have had coaching changes all within the last, 3 to 4 years, Miami having 2 within the last 4 years, and Buffalo having 1, and now you look at the Jets with whatever they're going to do with their coaching regime, having another first-round quarterback back there. I mean, it's just such a New England Patriot thing.
I'll say, but I think it speaks to, and I know I'm biased here, but it speaks to.
No, not you.
No,
yeah, not at all.
I think it just speaks to their talent finding ability. I mean, you look at a guy like Chris. You could look at a guy like Chris Hogan. You put Chris Hogan on an NFL combine field, and he might get some looks, but he's going to get passed over about 31 times over.
Well, it's because Bill Belichick loves guys who play lacrosse.
Right. So you look at a guy who he's primarily known for playing lacrosse, not playing football, and he brings him in, and all of a sudden he's a playmaker. You look at their wide receiving core outside of Julian Edelman. Who on that receiving core are you looking at and going, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a headache?
No, I mean you can't knock what they do. I mean they do it and they do it well, and they obviously have the success that backs it up. But it's just such a funny little observation there that with all the New England stuff you can ride people for, it's just this division is such a New England Patriot thing.
It is, but give kudos to them because they run that organization. Whatever you feel about them, like I don't like them, but I respect them.
Yeah, sure.
Always
I mean, absolutely.
They win, but they have the Patriot way, and it gets the job done. And I'd like to see some other teams start following that in the sense of they don't have so much influx and chaos, with their players and their coaching staff, just like a carousel that just keeps turning.
Yeah, I mean, after I watched the 2 Bills documentary that was on the 30 for 30, I gained so much more respect for Bill Belichick because I really didn't realize, I was only, when that whole thing happened with the Giants, I was like 2.5. So I had no idea what the behind the scenes things were with him and Parcells and, the Giants franchise. And it's like the respect I grew for him was even more than what I had now just from a head coaching standpoint.
So you would think that more teams would be following it by now because you look at baseball as an example, and for a lot of years it's, we got to go get the star player, we got to go get the name player, the big guy, and bring him on our team. And then it kind of turned into a youth movement where, hey, these big name guys aren't necessarily getting the job done for us. Why don't we rebuild our farm system, get young, and really build through our farm system, and how everyone and their mother is doing it these days because it was proven and it worked. Yeah. I'm surprised more NFL teams aren't following, the way New England does things, given the success of the last 15 years.
I think the problem is that there's just not enough head coaching guys that can do the front office stuff and, have obviously Robert Kraft in their back pocket that, basically just lets Bill do what Bill needs to do. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I don't think anybody has the eye for talent like Belichick does.
That's
and
true.
That's just, no matter what anybody says, I think Dorsey in Cleveland is a guy who is up there as far as somebody who does have that eye, but it's still not to the level of Belichick. The only other person that I could say can do that was Ernie Accorsi.
Yeah.
And that's it.
It's tough to say anything bad about the Patriots and how they do their business. You could say about Deflategate and all that nonsense if you want, but at the end of the day, they've proven to be a championship franchise, whether they win the Super Bowl or not. That's just how they run their organization. That's how they find all the talent. That's why the rest of the AFC East is trying to catch up to them. And just to close out with the AFC East, Miami is just in a state of flux. They've had a lot of player movement, and they live and die on how far they get with Tannehill.
I mean, that's the only option they have right now.
Yeah, so for them, I do think they're going to have a losing season. I'm not saying this just because I'm a Bills fan, but my opinion is they're going to have some struggles this year, without question. And until they find some keys to fix that problem, it's going to be a long season for those guys. Moving on to the AFC North.
Of course, Pittsburgh won the division last year, 13-3 record. Baltimore finished in second, 9-7. Cincinnati with a 7-9 record, and then Cleveland finished last in the division with a, well, you know the record.
Absolutely. Coach, what you got on that?
So, I mean, obviously when you're talking, the AFC North, you're talking about the fact that you've got, a dynasty in Pittsburgh there that is, essentially ruled the division. So it's hard to it's hard to go against them from that standpoint because it's, how do you hedge against that? I mean, there's somebody that's been there for years. Obviously, Roethlisberger is on his last legs here, saying that he might leave after this year. So, what do you kind of do with that? Does that kind of make them have to go all in this year and then hedge for next year or what? But, obviously they're definitely a team that, is in a bit of flux right now with the fact that your franchise quarterback might be on the way out. Then you got Baltimore, obviously, with, Flacco and Lamar Jackson. A defense that kind of struggled a little bit for a traditional, Baltimore football. So, the real question for that team is, can the defense bounce back, and how soon do you see Lamar Jackson in the game? Because I think with that offensive line, even though they are veteran savvy, just they're not as great as they once were. How far do you see a playmaker like Mark come in there? And then obviously Cincinnati, also another team that's, they're always right there. They're always just a team that they can't break through, and then it's the year you think they're going to break through, and then they fall apart with injuries.
Yep.
And, I mean, they've got a coach in Marvin Lewis right now who, really, you don't know whether he's going to be there or not next year because obviously ownership might need to make a change here. I mean, he's one of the longest tenured head coaches to really not produce. So, I mean, how much longer do they ride on his shoulders there? And then Cleveland, I mean, obviously it's been a lot of fun watching them on Hard Knocks. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to that.
A couple episodes.
That's been a lot of fun. Baker Mayfield, Tyrod Taylor. That defense, I think, is a lot better than people actually realize that it is. Mm-hmm. They've got a lot of playmakers in that secondary. They got a lot of playmakers up front, too, that can create some chaos. And then offensively, you got weapons. Bless them. Bless them, everybody. I mean, that's been a lot of fun with Landry on there. And then obviously they're, they've got a very good running back core. They drafted Alabama's running back to come in there, and now he's going to get some looks too. So Cleveland might be very much improved that they might actually make a run. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
No, yeah, definitely. I'm with you. Until Roethlisberger is not there, or unless the wheels come off in the worst way possible, I don't see them losing this division. It's theirs to win. It's theirs for the taking. Baltimore, I can see slipping back a little bit. I think in regards to Lamar Jackson, you will see him start at some point this season, but I think when you would normally see it will be a little later than most teams bringing in an NFL rookie, simply because it's Flacco. He's got tenure and he did win him a Super Bowl there, so they'll give him a little more slack than I think you would a normal NFL quarterback. But I think they're not going to finish 9-7 this year. I think it's going to be a slight decline in the opposite direction. Cincinnati, I'm thinking they were going to be 8-8. Nothing stellar, nothing really blow you away. Couple close wins, couple close losses. In Cleveland, they're going to win a couple games. You look at it, like you said, the defense looks good. They've got some offensive targets, and they've got some quarterbacks who, on paper, and you look at it, and of course I've said this before and thought this before, on paper, they have some quarterbacks who look good. So I'm thinking they could win 4 or 5 games maybe.
It could happen. Sound Guy Galore took Steelers 12-4, Ravens 8-8, Browns 6-10, Bengals 4-12. With the Steelers, I feel they have to go all in this year. You don't know what's going to happen with Roethlisberger.
Right.
You don't know what's going to happen with Le'Veon Bell next season. You really don't.
Right.
That could be
sure.
That could be a longer distraction than people think if he does not play and he starts sitting out.
Mm-hmm.
That could cause a lot of problems that you don't hear from the Steelers organization.
Because during the broadcasts, that's all the broadcasters are going to talk about. So that's all the fans are going to hear about, and that's all the fans are going to talk about online.
And as we talked about organizations, the Steelers are up there with the Patriots. You don't really hear about drama like this happening too often involving, the Steelers. They are usually people that take care of stuff in-house, and you don't have players openly complaining, so to speak, about their status. And for Le'Veon, for his contract arguments, I mean, he does have legitimate claims, though.
Yes.
I have to say that, though.
Yes.
But whatever's going to happen there is going to dictate how they do this season, I feel. If he's sitting out for a while, that changes the whole dynamic of that offense. Roethlisberger, if this is going to be it for him, I think he's going to go out swinging. I do like them to win the division because I still think that they have enough left in the tank to win outright in that division.
Right.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to take Cleveland to get second.
Okay.
Just coming up shy of the playoffs, though. I will say this.
Sure.
But you have to look at it from this perspective. Cleveland came off the worst season possible last year, arguably. I mean, to go winless is just, unfathomable.
To go winless when you went 1-15 the year before.
Yeah. And they did the right moves this year. They got players in there that are having a us against the world mentality.
For sure.
They're buying in.
Yes, they're buying into the culture of we can turn this around.
I'll say, sure, you have a couple players saying, we're going to go undefeated and win the Super Bowl. Okay, funny, and it makes headlines, but they're buying in.
Exactly.
Right, and that's the most dangerous thing that you can give, talent like that is hope.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like Jarvis Landry, I give him a microphone every day. Because
Absolutely.
He is the focal point of that team. I don't care what you say about Mayfield and Tyrod. No, it rides on him.
It's so funny when obviously we're going to talk about the Giants, later on and everything with Odell Beckham. But, I look at a guy like Jarvis, and I wish that was Odell.
Yeah.
Jarvis is the same exact talent level as Odell, but his leadership skills is infinity times more than Odell's. It is insane. Just watching his clips on Hard Knocks have been so inspiring, and from like a level of like getting me fired up while I'm watching it on my couch. I want to jump off and then go tackle somebody.
Who was he with before? Was it Miami?
Yeah, he was Miami.
Okay, so the way I look at it is he goes from a situation in Miami, and this is not a slight against anybody in the organization. You look at a situation where he was with Miami for a number of years, and let's be honest, it was a wash, rinse, repeat mentality and cycle with them. Lose a bunch of games, fire the head coach, bring somebody in, lose more games. It wears on a person when you lose consecutive seasons and you don't get any better, you don't make any improvement, and in all honesty, there are a couple of years you get worse. To go from that to a scenario where in Cleveland where, you don't get any worse than 0-16.
No.
You don't.
No.
To go from that to you have front office making moves, you have front office trying, you have front office going, we're bringing in people who we think can make this team better and we can really make a run. Like we said before, you're giving him hope.
And that's why I mentioned Dorsey before, because he does have the eye for talent, and I think he's even, obviously changing the culture like we're talking about here with those kind of guys that aren't me guys, they're we guys.
Yep.
Yes, and if you can build a culture around that, and with everything Landry's doing, you can see it's starting to shift the focus away from the losing mentality to, it's us against the world. What have we got to lose?
I'll say New England did it a couple of years ago with the whole Brady court case thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it just takes one little spark like that to just ignite a change in attitude on everybody. Because, granted, I think everybody thought it was crazy when he's going, we're going to drop 40 on everybody.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know what? But it's that kind of mentality that they need in Cleveland. You don't have this in Cleveland. You look at last season. It was, everybody just couldn't wait to get out of town. Mm-hmm. He's somebody that bought in. And when you have that, and you have a guy like Mayfield, which I know we talked about in the draft episode, everybody's like, well, why did, pass on Darnold and you got him. Mayfield is coming in there. Mayfield walked on his team. Mayfield has worked for everything he has. So you know what? He's got confidence.
Let's just remember who was so high on Mayfield in that draft episode, because I love the guy and I still do.
Mm-hmm. But you got him in a situation where this is right up his alley.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Everybody thinks that they're going to fail.
This is his storyline. This is him,
Yeah, this is him to the letter. And if you look at last season, if you really want to break down games, How many games were close that was just, a quarterback mistake here and
Oh,
there?
for sure.
Let's be honest. It is what it is.
Well, and obviously I'm a Notre Dame guy, so Kaiser, is near and dear to my heart and probably left the year early. But at the same time, they were messing with his confidence a whole lot.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of stuff that was happening last year with that team in general.
Right.
But it falls on a lot of, the quarterback's shoulders a lot.
Sure, and that's the position. But, when you talk about this team and then you got, a guy like Josh Gordon coming back.
Yeah, and they could possibly get Des Bryant by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah.
I think they do wind up with him.
To me, I know that we saw the episode where he kind of, came through and everything. To me, he seemed like a guy who was ready for some change. Mm-hmm. And he seemed like he really was, connecting well with that organization. That I think, legitimately, I think Des might actually help that locker room. Not to mention, I think, help that team.
Well, if you think about it, he was the guy in Dallas for so long, and then when he was let go, I think it may have been like a shock to his system. Then now he's like, okay, I'm going to just stick it to everybody else in the league, and these guys are exactly like me. Everybody says we can't do it. We're going to show you.
I think it was definitely a shock to the system that Dallas let him go. I think it was an even bigger shock to the system that, in his mind, he's one of the best players in the NFL.
No, for sure.
And the numbers would say that. Yes, he has his issues. Yes, he has his drops, but so does everybody. Well, Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Chris Carter, you name it. But I think the bigger shock to his system is he got let go by Dallas. And I think in his head, he goes, fine, let me go. I'm going to get picked up instantly, and I'm going to burn you. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting here in late August, almost September, and he's still a free agent.
Yeah, we're looking at the 53-man cut here.
Right. You're looking at cuts. You're looking at final rosters being set, and he's not on a team. And I'm not Adam Schefter. I'm not Ian Rappaport. I'm no NFL insider, but I read articles. I look at stuff. Des Bryant having interest from certain teams isn't exactly lighting up my Twitter feed.
No, it's not. But you know what? I think that the Browns are making the right pitch to him, and I think he's just biding his time and just kind of seeing, okay, is this what I really want to get all in on?
Yeah, he's letting this slow cook. He's letting it simmer. Why does he need a rush right now? He's obviously in football shape.
Exactly. He's ready to play. There's no question. If any team signs him, he's going to be ready to play. That's not even a no-brainer. Like, he does not even need to do preseason.
No.
So if the Browns can get him in, you have him, Josh Gordon, and Landry as your wide receiving core. You have that running back by committee with Nick Chubbs from Georgia.
Yep. I realized that shortly after I said it.
No problem. Who I think that's your fantasy football sleeper pick for me.
Oh, yeah. Chubb can run the ball. Obviously, again, seeing him play in that Notre Dame game against that front seven that they had last year, Chubb ran just the ball down their throat. And then he did it all year. Yeah. So, he's a north-south guy, which is exactly what that system needs, is a guy who's north-south. So, as long as they can produce a hole for him, you're going to tackle him 3 or 4 yards deep.
Yeah. And just to shore up the rest of the division, I think Baltimore is going to come in right behind Cleveland. It's going to be very close between them. But I think it also depends on how soon they get Lamar Jackson in there in the transition from Flacco.
How about a fun little prop bet here? How about how long till we see Lamar Jackson in the year?
Game 5.
I'd say week 5, week 6.
Week 5. Okay, I'm probably going to say so. I'm going to say week 7. I'm going to say that they're probably going to be, like a 1-3, 1-4 situation.
Yeah.
If they
go, they'll put him in after the bye week.
They go one. Yeah. Well, that would make the most sense if they decided to do that. But I sense if they go to a 1-3 start, they're going to definitely get him in there.
Yeah. There's no sense in not.
Yeah, and then with the Bengals, they're the most up and down team every year on paper. So I got a sense though, with how good the other teams are playing at this stage, I think it's going to be a closer division than people think it's going to be, but I still think that they're going to be the team on the outside looking in. Let us know what you think, though. Hashtag ODPH. We're going to take a quick break and we'll get back to the rest of the AFC when we come back.
Hey, this is Brian Wolf from Fair City Fire. You are listening to ODPH, the greatest podcast in Binghamton.
Woo!
Coming back for the second segment on this week's ODPH NFL Preview Edition, talking the AFC, and we're going to talk about the AFC South Division. Pad, what you got?
Well, looking at their record from last year, of course, the surprise Jacksonville Jaguars won the division with a 10-6 record. Tennessee Titans finished second with a 9-7 record. The Indianapolis Colts finished in third with a 4-12 record, and then the Houston Texans finished in last with a 4-12 record.
Coach, what you got for that?
So, I mean, obviously, when you talk about the AFC South, you obviously have to look at the team that won it last year with Jacksonville. You know, I like Jacksonville. Did they get lucky winning that division with Deshaun Watson going down? I'm probably going to say yes.
Deshaun Watson going down and Andrew Luck.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Colts are, they're kind of Colts. You know, you talk about Cincinnati, and that's a team that's pretty similar to the Colts. I would say that they're always a team that's on the cusp, but they never finish. You know, they can never get past that hump in the road. So, I mean, I love Houston this year. I love everything about them. I don't care that Watson's coming off that knee injury. I still think he's going to be a playmaker. I think they're still going to treat him as he's a playmaker. I don't think they're going to go Robert Griffin on him and screw him up from a playmaking standpoint. I think they're going to still let him do his thing with his legs. And then defensively, that team is stout, you know, from left end to backup nickel cornerback. I mean, they are stout defensively. Jacksonville's going to be good. They're still going to be in there. You know, you got to respect what they've done. Blake Bortles obviously shown that he might not necessarily be able to get it done in the big games. He played decent against New England, but he wasn't enough to get them over the hump. Tennessee, good. Marcus Mariota struggling this year in the preseason, which is not a good sign.
No.
You know, new system there, so that might be a bit of a headache for him. You obviously talk about a guy who came from college and running a spread now to the NFL where he's had two different head coaches running two different schemes. So that's been a lot of learning for him in a short amount of time, which, I mean, I'm not saying that he can't handle it, but, you know, that's difficult on a young quarterback. And then defensively, you know, they're not great. They're definitely a bend, don't break type team, but, you know, when you got teams that are going to be able to put up points this year in the NFL, you know, that style is really not going to work this year. And then, you know, you got the Colts, like I was saying earlier, you know, just a team that's very similar to Cincinnati. Just every year they're a team that can get to the playoffs. They're a team that could get to the AFC Championship game, but as luck will happen, you see what I did?
I see what you did.
You know, they always have something go wrong. So, you know, will this be the year that they can finally put it together? You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely think Jacksonville will experience some success. I don't think they'll win the division this year. I think the division will be Houston Texans to lose. I think you look at Deshaun Watson coming back with an axe to grind and just everything to prove that it wasn't a flash in the pan, it wasn't luck, it wasn't anything. And then you look at J.J. Watt coming back from injury. It's two guys who really have something to prove and really just want to show the world, you know, the Houston Texans aren't, you know, a fluke, that we're here to play, we're here to contend. I think you look at, you know, I think Jacksonville will probably finish second in that division. Indianapolis, you really don't know what you're going to get from Luck. He hasn't played competitive football, and when I say competitive, I'm talking not preseason, in like 2 years, something absurd like that. It's been a long time, so you genuinely don't know what you're going to get with them. So I could see them honestly finishing last, and, you know, Tennessee Titans finishing third.
I look at it like this: with Deshaun Watson in that lineup, this is Houston's division.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he is going to continue to grow and become a bona fide superstar if he hasn't already, but we haven't seen that much of him play.
And you look at Deshaun Watson having had all this time from injury where he had nothing else to do but study film and study the game.
I think it's going to show, because between him and DeAndre Hopkins, I think that's going to be your 1-2 punch, similar to Big Ben and AB, in my opinion. The running game, I mean, obviously isn't going to be as good as Pittsburgh, but I think they have enough weapons around Watson that they can definitely put up some points, and I think they win this division outright.
Yeah.
As long as he stays healthy. If he gets hurt again, then they're in trouble.
Well, and two, when you talk about, you know, Deshaun Watson's playmaking skills, you don't necessarily need to have a Pro Bowl running back there.
Right.
No.
Right. No, I think that's one thing that plays into his factor. That, yeah, I mean, sure, it's great if he does have one, but he doesn't necessarily need, you know, a bona fide superstar running back behind him. I mean, as long as you can have somebody that moves the chains, he's doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for them that helps. I like the Colts to place second.
Okay.
And actually, I forgot to read JR's picks. He had Texans 11-5, Colts 9-7, tied with the Jags, and then Titans 5-11.
Wow.
Okay.
I think if you have a healthy Andrew Luck, they have a new coach, they have a new system in place, I think they're going to surprise some people. I think that they're going to definitely grind out some wins. I don't think it's going to be anything flashy by any means, but I think they're going to contend enough that they could place an 8-8 in that division.
Right.
They got a stud at left guard too.
Oh, they
stud.
They do. They did the right things by repairing their line there. And who did they take at left guard?
Oh, that absolute man child in Quentin Nelson. I mean,
And where did he play?
Let's just say that he might have played at a certain school that has Irish in their name. But I mean, he's a stud anyway. Regardless, I mean. Listen, I was high on him in our draft episode, obviously. I mean, I said I did the outlandish thing that I would have wished the Giants would have traded up to get him and Saquon. But, I mean, the guy just can do it. And he's done it in preseason.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I know he's not going to be the one guy that changes everything, but at least Andrew Luck knows that from a left guard standpoint, he's not going to get hit coming up the middle.
This is true.
Right. He's going to be on his feet a lot more, which I think is going to be scary for defenses facing him. And Brissett is still the backup quarterback, so they still have got a definite star at the center position. That being said, I do like them, placing 8-8. Jacksonville, I think, is going to fall back a little bit, and I will explain why. Sure, they have a great defense, but as we've talked about in the previous episodes, they're already talking a lot of chatter for having, early success. You look at Jalen Ramsey's interview. He gave everybody a lot of bulletin board material. They now have to back that up, and meaning the entire team. Blake Bortles needs to play out of his mind.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about the quarterbacks that he called out. Like, you should have been looking at across the line from you in practice.
Yeah, and I just thought it was just showing that, okay, a young team has early success. How are they handling it? Mm-hmm. And I think last year they snuck up on a lot of people. I really do.
Yeah, that defense was so stout that I think, a lot of teams just weren't. I mean, obviously they knew, but I think they were surprised by what they had defensively.
Yeah, and I think this year they have to match that intensity if they're going to hang in there. Not saying they couldn't, but I'm just saying you have a very young team that had a very good run last year. How are they handling it? And if they're kind of talking a lot of chatter, they have to back it up.
So they had a lot of things play their way last year.
Yeah, when you talk about from an offensive standpoint too, do they really have anything, outside of the running back position that really makes you think like they're going to put points up on the board? Now, obviously, their defense is probably going to hold you to 17 to 20 points a game.
Oh yeah,
but New England showed a definite chink in the armor from an offensive standpoint that just time and time again that if you can get Blake Bortles frustrated, just like any quarterback, if you can get to him, or if you have the coverage that can cause chaos like Jacksonville does have, like New England does have, that you can, mess with his head, especially when you talk about an X's and O's guy like Belichick that is going to scheme towards your quarterback to put him in a position where he's not comfortable. And when you do that to Bortles, he can't play.
Mm-hmm. And if you shut down their quarterback, it doesn't matter how good their defense is.
Yeah.
End of story. I mean, Fournette is an incredible running back. If he's, does anything like he did last year and just improves, I mean, he's definitely going to be carrying that offensive load, no pun intended.
Yeah, well, you put 8 in the box.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter who you put in there.
Yeah.
I mean, or you have running the ball if you put 8 in the box and shut them down. And you try getting into, a shootout with like an Aaron Rodgers or, take a look at the rest of the division, a Deshaun Watson or an Andrew Luck. Can they match up, touchdown for touchdown? That's going to be the question and kind of the X factor. And I think that they're going to have a little slip. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to go 2-14 by any means, but I think they're going to have a slip up from where they were last year. It's just a lot of teams that took them too lightly just aren't going to take them lightly this year. And for the rest of the division, I mean, Tennessee, they are just kind of in a transition period, in my opinion. That I think they're kind of rebuilding their identity, and I think they're gonna have a lot of struggles this year. I really do. So I think they're gonna wind up last in their division. That's my early prediction on that. But let's go to the AFC West now.
Yep, looking at the division last year, the Kansas City Chiefs won the division with a 10-6 record. The Los Angeles Chargers, still weird to say, finished in second with a 9-7 record. The Oakland Raiders finished in third with a 6-10 record, and the Denver Broncos rounded out the division with a 5-11 record.
Now let me give JR's picks before I forget them. He had Oakland winning 10-6, or winning the division 10-6. Chiefs 9-7, Broncos 6-10, and the Chargers 6-10. Coach, your thoughts?
So, I mean, this is a division that I would have to say, like, when you actually look at it, is that's a very interesting division.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is wide open. I mean, obviously, we can probably agree that Denver right now is just in a state of flux. I mean, they just, for whatever John Elway's doing right now is just not getting the job done. And you'd have to think that there might be even though he is an all-time legend there, that there might be, from a general manager standpoint, a job on the line. Like Gretzky's talent level, when you talk about, Wayne Gretzky in the NHL when he became a general manager, was only so good. Your talent only carries you so far, and so is your legend. And I mean, right now, Elway's got to be on the hot seat from what they're doing, from a Super Bowl contender to a team that got blown out on Sunday Night Football. I mean, this is not a team that you talk about in Denver that you're scared about right now.
No.
Then Oakland, obviously, with Gruden coming back out of the booth. I mean, that's going to be a lot of fun. You still got Marshawn Lynch and the Skittle train there. You still got, Carr back there at quarterback. I like Derek Carr a lot. I think that he's got a lot of talent level. Obviously, they put wide receivers around him to help, get downfield like Gruden, will want to do. At the same time, a West Coast offense is difficult on quarterbacks to learn when you haven't ran that before and you've ran a vertical game before like Oakland used to do. So that will be an interesting transition for him. I think he'll be able to do it just because I think he's that smart of a quarterback. But, it is difficult for a young quarterback to learn the West Coast offense. Kansas City, obviously with Patrick Mahomes now taking over as your starting quarterback, has the arm strength of, Uncle Rico in Napoleon Dynamite. He can throw it over that there mountain. So, I mean, who knows what he's going to do, though, in Andy Reid's system. Young quarterbacks don't necessarily have great success with Andy Reid. He puts a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks to be successful. Defensively, obviously, though, Kansas City probably is one of the better defenses in that division. So, they're going to help win a lot of games, and Eric Berry, I'm sorry. So that's going to help a ton. So Kansas City is going to be a threat. And then Los Angeles, which I got right, guys. Hey. Los Angeles is going to be solid. I mean, they still have Phillip Rivers. They still have Keenan Allen. They've got Melvin Gordon. They've got guys who can score the ball and make plays. And they got Joey Bosa back there defensively now, who's going to cause some headaches. So, if I'm going to pick a winner here, I'm probably going to go with Los Angeles to win the division. I don't think it's going to be, like a New England where they're going to win the division by, games. I think it might be like a scrap 'em, like 10-6, and then I think Kansas City might go 9-7, and I think Oakland might go 9-7, and then I think Denver's going to go like 4-12.
Yeah, no, I definitely, for me, it's a kind of a toss up between Oakland and the Chargers because the Chargers, the talents there, they're proven. What they can do. Oakland is interesting because they've got beast mode. They've got Amari Cooper. They added Jordy Nelson from the Green Bay Packers. They've got Derek Carr at quarterback. So the pieces are there, but whether it's pieces that make up a whole and complete puzzle is yet to be seen. The talent is there. Will it work out? To be seen. I think they can definitely win the division if said puzzle pieces fit together and make a cohesive unit. Whether that actually happens or not, I don't know. I'm thinking for the interim, before the season, without really knowing anything, I think the Chargers are going to win the division. Oakland will finish in second. Chiefs, I see finishing third. Like you said, Andy Reid's system is really hard on a rookie quarterback, a young quarterback. I think he's just going to get eaten alive to a little bit, to a certain extent. And then Denver, they're not really impressing me. It's kind of like with some of the teams we talked about before. They're not impressing me. They're not wowing me. Yeah, you got Von Miller on defense. What else are you doing?
For me, it goes like this. The Los Angeles Chargers, and you know what? I'm probably going to screw up and just call them San Diego because they should be in San Diego, but that's another story. The Chargers are going to win this division outright.
Goal, Chargers, goal.
Without question, this is probably one of the biggest no-brainers. The amount of talent they have on the side of the ball, and on both sides, rather. Phillip Rivers is arguably the best quarterback in that division.
I mean, yeah.
You could say him and Derek Carr, but I think Rivers outright can sling the ball all over the field. It doesn't matter who he has as weapons.
I'll say I've had him a few years in fantasy football. He is one heck of a gunslinger in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to talk pure numbers, and then that gives Phillip Rivers the nod over Derek Carr.
Absolutely. And then you look at the defensive side of the ball with Joey Bosa and company. I mean, they're going to be ready to ball out. I mean, there's going to be really no distractions happening this year. They're going to be in their rhythm. They're definitely going to be putting up some points, and they're going to be shutting down some teams too. I think without question, they're going to win this outright. I would dare even say 13-3.
Ooh,
I'm even going to go on a limb and say that.
See, I think that division minus Denver is just going to beat each other up.
I can entirely foresee this getting to like the final 2-3 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Like you're watching NFL Network or ESPN or Fox or whatever, and it's like they're showing, because you know how you get to the end of the season and they're showing scenarios like Miami's got to win, Buffalo's got to lose or tie. Like you see that type of thing. It's going to be like with, like you said, the exception of Denver, I can see it being Kansas City, the Chargers, and Oakland all being in like a 3-horse race, like within a game of each other.
I could see them all splitting their games that they have against each other, but then all dumping on Denver and Denver going 0-6 in the division, but them all being 500.
Well, the one thing about Denver, and I do have them coming in last for the division, is their offense isn't really impressive by any means. Their defense is going to be stout enough that they're going to shut some teams down.
Mm-hmm.
And for that division, no matter how bad their teams have been over the course of the years, they've always hung in there. They've always came to play against the division. I think that's where they're going to get some of their wins, but I think outright Denver's not going to get the job done. I then take a look at Oakland. Gruden comes back. Khalil Mack might not be there.
Yep.
At this point,
it's up in the air.
It's very up in the air. So you have a new quarterback or a new coach coming into the team. Your quarterback is still the center of your team. Is he going to work well with Derek Carr? Remains to be seen.
Right.
Marshawn Lynch is not the Marshawn Lynch of old, but he's still an adequate running back. Amari Cooper, you're not sure what you're going to get out of him. He has all the talent in the world, but sometimes it just doesn't translate sometimes. I think Cooper is going to benefit from Gruden, though.
Yes.
I really do. But is it enough to win that division? I don't think so.
Well, I think from a standpoint of, real quick on Amari Cooper, from his standpoint of having Gruden there, Jerry Rice, when he was with Gruden, put up some of his best numbers, being able to continue to be, because after he went to Seattle and that wasn't a West Coast offense, then he went back down to, Oakland and had the West Coast offense there. He was still able to produce, and honestly, that it helps the wide receivers because now those vertical routes that they had to run, probably, I don't know, maybe every 2 or 3 plays. Now they're running slants, instead, and now they're getting open. And yeah, you're taking hits, but at least those slants are quick routes that after 7 yards, you don't have to worry about running anymore. The play's over by then.
It's true. And I think the Raiders are going to hang in there, but I think just with Gruden coming back, it's still going to be an adjustment period. So I don't see them getting the job done this year. I do see them contending for the wild card, but I just don't think overall they're going to do it. I think Kansas City beats them outright and could sneak in for that wild card. Mahomes, has got a cannon for an arm. Andy Reid, like you said, he's going to put a lot of pressure on the kid. But to get rid of Alex Smith, who had been your quarterback for how many years, and you went all in on your rookie quarterback, that says a lot of faith Andy Reid has for him.
Well, I think back with that Andy Reid thing, I think the other problem is I don't think he kind of inherited Alex Smith. So at the same time, I don't think that was his guy.
Maybe not, but he did. They had
they work great together.
Success.
Which is amazing. That's why it's like when you traded him, it's like wow, really? That's an interesting move for a guy that really really produced for you.
Yeah, which like I said, it was more puzzling than anything at the time. But when you traded up in the draft to go get Mahomes, that definitely sends a statement. So I think it all depends on how he plays. But he's got Kelsey as his tight end. He has a lot of weapons around him, and their defense is going to be solid enough that I think they could sneak in for that second wild card position. I honestly do.
Yeah.
I just don't think they beat the Chargers.
No.
That's just my early prediction on that. But we gave you our talks about the AFC South and the West. We're going to take a quick break, come back, and close out this episode talking about who we think is going to get to the Super Bowl representing the AFC. You're listening to the ODPH.
Hey, this is Rob Kacharik from the band 607, Autopilot Off, and Walking Distance. and you're listening to ODPH.
Coming back on our special NFL preview edition of the ODPH. Now we've given you our AFC East, South, North, and West division predictions, but let's give you the playoff talk now. Coach, who do you got?
All right, so 1 through 6, I got New England, Houston, Pittsburgh, the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Jaguars coming in 6th place.
Okay.
I really just I love New England and Houston getting to the AFC Championship game, but I mean obviously you got to give the nod to New England. I mean to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Very good point.
That's true. I agree with you 1 through 4, although I do think, looking at the wild card, you're going to be, so of course, New England being 1, Houston being 2, Pittsburgh being 3, and then you look at for me, I'm going to put the Chargers being the 4th seed, looking at that. Then you look at them looking at the playoffs, I'm going to say Jacksonville squeaks in at the 5, and then looking at it, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Oakland Raiders.
All right.
And then looking to go the Super Bowl out of them, New England, like Duff said, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And until the wheels fall off New England, I don't see them not getting to the Super Bowl.
So if I'm just going by the stats that JR gave, because he didn't give his 1 through 6, but it's Steelers, Pats, Texans, Ravens, Chiefs, and I'm going to say Colts, because he has a bunch of 9 and 7s. So we're just going to say Colts.
So you're stuck, Royce.
Yes, we're gonna make it with those 6. But he has the Steelers beating all of them, with Le'Veon Bell being the MVP of the league.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And his comeback player of the year is Andrew Luck.
Sure.
Well, right.
So
just like my rookie of the year is Quentin Nelson.
Yes. So we'll go with this. For me, I'm taking the Chargers as the 1 seed, Patriots as 2, Steelers as 3, Texans as the 4. We're going to go the Chiefs as the 5, and why not? Because it's the ODPH. I'm going to take those Cleveland Browns as the 6 for no other reason that it's us against them, and they don't circle the wagons like those Buffalo Bills, even though I would love it for the Bills to get there. But it's about time the Browns go circle something other than the stadium after losing
this is true.
16.
This is true.
Sure, I mean,
do I think they're going to make a deep run? No, not this year. But stay tuned. But my prediction for your AFC championship team is the Los Angeles Chargers.
ooh,
Okay.
I think that this is going to be the year that Brady does not get the job done. Now, do I think they're going to meet in the final game? Yes, I do. I think it's going to be New England and L.A., but I think the game is going to be out west because I think the Chargers are going to be the number 1 seed. Oh, I like taking predictions on this show, folks. I am going to make that bold statement. And do I think they beat the man? Yes, I think they do. I think finally Phillip Rivers gets his chance to bring his bolo tie to the Super Bowl. Who is he going to face? Find out on part 2 of our NFL preview show, because we have so much information that one show just isn't enough. So for Coach Duffy,
everybody, look forward to part 2.
Padawan J.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Kenem. Thank you for listening to part 1 of our NFL preview here on the ODPH. We'll see you next episode.